How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel. So today's finally the day. We're doing it. A ROM hack Type Hardcore Nuzlocke. I've really not seen any of these out there, not to mention nothing about Flora Sky, so I'm excited to jump into this modified version of the Hoenn region today. This game's based on a mixture of the Gen 3 storyline, as well as some inspiration from the anime movie Giratina and the Sky Warrior, as well as some original content. So I figured with Shaman being the mascot, it would only make sense to take this game on with the grass type. Thankfully, there's a ton of encounters in Turtwig, Lotad, Oddish, Shroomish, Cottony, Cacnea, Paris, Petalil, Cherubi, Deerling, Shaman, and Roselia, but I'll be omitting Shaman as it's a legendary Pokemon. I would love to use it, believe me, grass flying is super powerful and Tropius isn't available, but we're gonna have to try without it. This pool of encounters isn't bad though. Subtypings of water, poison, dark, bug, and normal will all be available, and I think that's pretty decent coverage, but I'm not gonna blab too much. Make sure to like this video, let's aim for 4,000 likes, subscribe to the channel as well as Beast Coast Pokemon, the channel in which I do collaborative content with Aaron Cybertron Zhang, James Beck, and Celio's Network, and comment down below what other ROM hacks, fan games, and the Monotype challenge in them that you'd like me to do. I'm always looking for new suggestions. So the first badge is actually pretty quick to get. With a level cap of 10, I've got to make sure I don't overlevel. I'm able to head into Mount Full Moon, see a mirage of Cresselia before being offered a choice of a Sinnoh starter. So I take Turtwig, take out the Zigzagoon in the way, and head to the rival battle with May. Yeah, definitely seeing the reuse of Gen 3 stuff here, but the areas already look really intricate and new, very well done. She's got Chimchar to counter me, not to mention I'm not auto-healed after the Zigzagoon fight like I'm used to in Gen 3, so I'm going to be a little handicapped. Naturally, this fight is a normal type attack spam fest, though she decides to go for Leer to start out as I mash Tackle. Taking a scratch, then a critical brings me down to 1 HP. Well, I thought I was going to have to reset on the first battle, but thankfully Turtwig was holding an Oran Berry to start, healing me just enough to get the KO with one more tackle and get the win. Well, that's certainly not a good start, but I am playing this game blind while looking at a walkthrough and speedrun to help me along the way, so I guess this is supposed to be expected. With May down, I get the Pokedex, and I'm able to move on to Route A, seeing a new character by the name of Sky, who's just a blue retrain, who has Wally teach us how to catch Pokemon through Ralts like you would in Vanilla Gen 3, letting me move through the forest entrance where Team Magma enters and blocks. Well, I'm not interested in getting involved with a team of only one Turtwig against a team that is comprised of fire types, so I move into Route B, the home of my second encounter, Lotad. Pretty pumped to see this very early on. Having Lombre at level 14 and hopefully an early Ludicolo depending on where I can find a Waterstone should make this run much easier to handle. With that, it's a hop and a skip through some trainers in order to get to Puel City, the home of the first gym. It's a fighting gym equipped with Bulk Up and 3 Pokemon, and my best stab move on both my Lotad and Turtwig is Absorb, so I'm going in with a relative disadvantage after edging up to as high as I can push the level cap. I do make sure Lotad's holding an Oran Berry and Turtwig a Citrus Berry, just in case my plans go awry, seeing as a ton of berries were available on Route B. Martin's the leader here, and he leads off with a level 9 Tyrogue, having Fake Out and doing some light damage to my Lotad as I begin using Growl. My strategy here is essentially to get Tyrogue's attack down as much as possible, but with Bulk Up on his set, it's not exactly intuitive to just keep going until he's -6 attack. So I settle for around -3 or 4, swapping for Turtwig and beginning to go with Withdraw. With this, I should be able to have Turtwig shrug off any attempts to set up with Bulk Up on all 3 of his Pokemon while shrugging off just about every attack, and using the 30 available power points of Absorb should keep me ahead on HP throughout the entire fight. This admittedly takes a few minutes, going through one of Martin's 2 potions in order to KO Tyrogue, getting to full HP off of Absorb and not using my Citrus Berry as Scraggy comes out second. Now this has both Bulk Up and Focus Energy, so I gotta get this thing off the field ASAP, since a critical with a few Bulk Ups behind it will likely do in Turtwig in one shot from full. He begins to spam Low Kick instead of using more Bulk Ups and Focus Energy though, allowing me to get it into the red after a few absorbs, seeing the second potion as I repeat the process, seeing Focus Energy on the last turn he could possibly use it, taking it down with Absorb as his last Pokemon, Hitmonchan, enters the fray. This is pretty scary. Comet Punch can potentially be devastating with Bulk Up, but I'm gonna have to stay the course with Absorb. He sadly does start going for a good number of bulk ups though, but with how the HP rolls, I'm able to hold my Citrus Berry until 13 HP, healing 22 before getting a critical tackle, leaving just enough HP to fire off one more Absorb for the KO and the win, earning me the Kung Fu badge. And that is what I'd like to call a battle done like dinner. And speaking of dinner, how about we cook a quick meal with today's sponsor, HelloFresh. You know, doing multiple Pokemon challenges while also working with Beast Ghost is pretty time consuming. All I want after a hard day's worth of concentration is a nice home-cooked meal, but most people don't usually have the time to commit to cooking dinner on a nightly basis, and I know I'm part of that club. Thankfully, HelloFresh is here to help, so today we're cooking a buffet steak with roasted garlic pan sauce. Alright, we've got everything we need to cook dinner right inside this bag, and we have a handy-dandy recipe card in order to help us simply and effectively make dinner without any problems. HelloFresh has dozens of quick and simple recipes with pre-portioned ingredients for you to choose from. The recipes also change weekly, keeping a nice variety for those who don't like to eat the same foods very often, and they accompany special dietary restrictions. I've been on a several-month-long weight loss journey, and because of that, I eat low-carb, and HelloFresh has plenty of carb-smart options for people like myself. Make sure to click the link down in the description or go to HelloFresh.com and use code POGMeatball16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 extra surprise gifts across 6 HelloFresh boxes plus shipping. Thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video, and let's get to the second gym. Alright, with Puel City all done and handled, I'm able to head south to the next route, though Sky stops me for a quick fight, but he only has a Hippopotas at this point, so it's easily handled by spamming Absorb with Lotad, though he does try to slow me down with Sand Attack. Alas, through a potion, I'm able to keep using it, though the amount of times I'm missing ticks me off to the point where I swap into Turtwig to nail one final Absorb for the win, letting me move on. With that, we got Rock Smash, but no Pokemon to use it with, so I catch myself a Growlithe, and quickly realize that Rock Smash is very broken in this game. See, you can get items like Ethers, Elixirs, Pearls, Big Pearls, and Full Heals at very high rates on these boulders, so I grind up a ton of money to ensure I have anything and everything I could ever need while out in the field, since Infinite Ethers certainly makes my life easier. The set of trainers throughout C are easily taken care of, so I move into Mystic Town immediately to find that Giratina and Dialga are fighting for some reason. Well, that's a bit worrisome, and their attacks throw everyone into different places, sending me to the Torn World. That's the Japanese name for the Distortion World. Is the game really that old? Well, I think of it as somewhat new. Either way, Shaman rescues me and lets me move about my day, which means looping back around routes C, B, and A in order to get back to Small Town, then go south from there onto Route D and B-Bug Forest to make it to Plate Pick City, the home of the second gym. Though there's one slight problem. Team Magma is attempting to take over the city's research center with a bit of an endurance test at the end. I have to battle against a scientist with 3 Pokemon right before one of the admins without a healing break in between who has 4 Pokemon. Thankfully though, I can make this more bearable by grabbing Oddish off of Route E to the east of the city, naming it Honeywoman, and I also figured there was a bit of grinding necessary before these fights, so I made sure to evolve Lotad and Turtwig as well as getting Oddish up to the rest of the team before fighting them. Scientist Roy isn't too much of a struggle thanks to Oddish's sleep powder and my damage output, though my team did get slightly banged up and prepped for Magma Admin Hank. What, did he get tired on the set of King of the Hill? Well, whatever. He leads with a Numel, and I start with Oddish, using Sleep Powder to get the leg up on him, and swapping into Grottle to land Headbutt. The first does well over half as the Numel stays asleep, but a potion heals him back up to near full. Not good enough though, as 2 more Headbutts finishes it off while sleeping, leading to Houndour. He's got 2 more Pokemon after this one, and I've only got a third of my HP left on Grottle, so going for a 2-for-1 here with it is pretty good, and thankfully I'm able to, 2-shotting with Headbutt while only taking a Leer and a Smog, with the latter poisoning as Zubat comes out third. I swap back into Oddish now that Grottle's out of commission for the rest of the fight, attempting another Sleep Powder. On the swap-in, I see Astonish for 5 damage and Leech Life before I can hit Sleep Powder, which is not bad because it doesn't do that much. Good stuff. So I can safely swap into Lombre with Zubat staying asleep, hitting a Fake Out in the attempt to put another turn on the sleep counter, though I forgot about Inner Focus. Thankfully he stays asleep though, so I move to Nature Power, turning into a custom move from this game called Flame of Rage, a fire type almost equivalent of Swift if it's an animation to go by, that grabs the KO as Watchog's outlast. I need to burn this thing, and pronto, because I know how much this thing hurts, because I've gone against Lenora in Black and White before. So, after taking a Leer, I use another Flame of Rage, and it gets the burn immediately. Good stuff. Seems like this move has a 30% chance of burning, since I'm getting it pretty often also in trainer battles off-screen. It's a 3-shot, allowing for Lombre to survive through a bite and a low kick to win the battle. Alright, well, that went a lot smoother than I had anticipated. With that, I'm given the B ticket, which is short for bike ticket. I can get a mock bike with it, and then time to challenge the gym leader. Caitlyn is the leader here, the one from Platinum and HGSS's Battle Frontier and the Gen 5 Elite 4 member, though she's not rocking the Psychic type here, instead going with the normal type. Nothing too hard to handle though, as she leads with Lillipup and I go with Lombre. And oh boy, on reviewing the footage, I must have completely forgotten that the level cap was 22, not 21. But it doesn't end up mattering, as Lombre 2-shots it with Flame of Rage, including the burn, as Lillipup's only able to attack once, leading to a shiny Delcatty. I mean, that's cool, but that's not gonna really stop me from killing you. She goes for Sing and misses as I fire off Nature Power for Flame of Rage again, hitting for around a 4th and getting another burn. See what I mean about thinking it's 30%? Well, turns out it's 40% because I just looked it up, and that is absolutely broken. No wonder I keep getting it. She tries Double Team next turn in the effort to stall, but I'm not too worried about it. I just move over to Absorb, but I miss, so I go back to Nature Power, though she manages to land Sing. Do have a Chesto Berry though, negating the status and allowing me to hit Flame of Rage again, but that triggers her Citrus Berry, healing her quite a bit as the burn continues. Ah, there it is, Toxic. It was a coin toss between Sleep and Poison, and I figured I'd rather be able to attack a few more times, then swap instead of sitting here like a dumb idiot sleeping, and apparently choosing the Chesto Berry was the right thing. One more Flame of Rage after taking a return is enough to KO with burn damage, leading to Chansey as her final Pokemon. Well, I think getting the status before swapping is a good idea, though I may have a plan B in case either of them don't end up burning. And yeah, the 2 Flame of Rages don't, as she uses 2 Defense Curls, so I swap into my newly evolved Gloom, keeping Poison Powder for this reason, hitting it and putting her on a clock. The clock would have been a lot shorter, and I mean a lot shorter, if it weren't for 2 Super Potions and a Citrus Berry. But after spamming 11 turns of Absorb, I'm not kidding, 11 turns, I finally KO this headline act of r/Chonkers, giving me the win and the normal badge. Well, not as creative as the Kung Fu badge, but I suppose I'll take it. So I didn't actually realize, but Route G was accessible before the last gym, meaning I could have picked up Shroomish for the normal gym. Not that it matters, seeing as the cap was 22 and it evolves at 23, but I figured I'd grab it now that I realized. I also didn't realize the EXP share was available in the research facility that I rescued from Team Magma earlier, so I picked that up to help Shroomish catch up to the rest of the team. Now, it's time for some progress. After I teach one of my Pokemon Flash, despite the fact that I need to go on exactly one path with a rock to pass through this cave. It's not that bad though, since it'll be purchasable in the future and I can just overwrite it, seeing as it's a TM in this game rather than an HM. But with that, I arrive on Route H, fighting a ton of trainers and capturing my next encounter in Cottony before arriving in TS City. The big shopping mall of the region is here as well, which I check around to see if evolutionary stones for Gloom, Lombre, and Cottony are available, but they're not. So I just evolve Shroomish into Breloom at level 23 before getting to a second rival battle with May. She hasn't improved her team much, only adding a Natu, but that's still rather threatening to my team of grass types. I start with Lombre to pop it with Fake Out, then attempting to flinch it with the super effective Astonish, but it doesn't work, taking a peck for around a third as a second Astonish KOs going into Monferno. Mach Punch does around half of my remaining HP, so I risk staying out into a crit thanks to a held Oran Berry, popping him with a critical Astonish to get it down to nearly half before swapping into Grottle, tanking a Mach Punch. We should be able to survive a Flame Wheel relatively well at this HP, and we do, so I land Headbutt, healing off of an Oran Berry that unfortunately just doesn't do enough to survive under. Should have gone with a Citrus Berry. It's not a problem though, as I can swap into Breloom, survive a Flame Wheel, then out-prioritize the Monferno's Mach Punch with a Mach Punch of our own to KO and win the battle. God. I really do have a nasty weakness to flying and fire types. Hopefully that'll be fixed with the ground typing with Torterra and maybe rock type coverage, but I'm not holding my breath yet. The next gym is an electric gym, which would be nice to have Torterra for, but it's a level 30 level cap, unfortunately. Either way, I have to take out an encounter with Team Aqua along with Wally, who challenges me to a fight with a single Cresselia, which I take out with 2 of Grottle's headbutts before challenging the gym. And oh boy, that's some copy-paste game design if I've ever seen it. It's literally just the Mauville gym, but at least Watson's team is more challenging and more in line with this hack. Well, would be more challenging if he didn't start with Elekid, actually. He starts off with Light Screen, giving me the perfect opportunity to fire off a missed sleep powder. Okay, great. Yep, let's just miss, then immediately get paralyzed by Spark. Good thing I held a Cherry Berry to force this through. Second one lands, and now I have a few turns of buffer. I can swap into Cottony, set up a Leech Seed. I said set up a Leech Seed, then use a Growth before he wakes up. We're going for a +6 Mega Drain sweep, but that Light Screen is going to be a bit of a problem. Thankfully, the first one runs out before he wakes up, but immediately when he does, he sets up a second one as I use Stun Spore, paralyzing it on the turn he wakes up. Now I can finish off my growths, which actually give +2 special attack in this game rather than +1, tanking a Spark that paralyzes, though it's negated by a held Cherry Berry. Alright, now I can fire off a Mega Drain after taking a low kick, and it's enough to KO Elekid and heal back up to full. Second out is a Mulga, which is extremely threatening, but by using Stun Spore and holding him down from outspeeding, we should be fine. The one double team might be a problem, but it's fine as Light Screen dissipates, allowing for Mega Drain to 2-shot as he remains paralyzed for the turn, and I don't miss. Gotta love going unpunished. Third is Magneton, going for Thunder Wave as I go for Stun Spore, both hitting, and seeing an outspeed drives me nuts since it's gonna do that even though we're both paralyzed. But it's fine, I set up Leech Seed, take a Sonic Boom, then fire off Mega Drains. It's a bit of a war of attrition with Sonic Booms missing, Paralysis taking hold, 2 Super Potions by my opponent, and Supersonic confusing Cottony while paralyzed. But I'm eventually able to pull this magnet back to the fridge with some good old gravity, leaving just Lantern. Of course, due to the water typing, 1 Mega Drain at +6 is enough to grab the KO, winning me the Dynamo badge. Not too bad, I like the inclusion of Lantern. It's a pretty broken Pokemon for this early on, but of course water typing certainly puts it to my advantage. With our third badge in hand, I've got access to Strength outside of battle, which is obtainable over in the Safari Zone right here in Terzero City. So we get that, then head back through the desert of Route J to Habitest City, which I've already visited due to grinding EXP on the trainers beforehand to get close to the level cap, but there's a wall of Strength and Rock Smash obstacles here that I can bypass now, giving me access to this sailor that brings me over to Sea Round City. And while there's a little Team Aqua event here, Admin Shelly is no match for my Grottle, using exclusively a Sharpedo and getting bodied by 2 Mega Drains. With them gone and the gym cleared out though, I trained at a level cap of 34, evolving Grottle into Torterra in the process, and now it's time to fight Bryce! Well, at least he had an original gym. He's been stationed here instead of back in Mahogany Town, but I'm not sure what I feel about reusing characters that are known gym leaders elsewhere while also using original characters like Martin in the first gym. I would have much preferred the latter. Anyway, he starts out with a Snorunt, so I go with Breloom, leading with Bulk Up as he's got Protect, and the AI is notorious in Pokemon games, especially Generation 3, for going with Protect always turn 1, and I know I can survive an Iceberg. No, not a literal iceberg. There's a 70 power, 90% accurate move that has a 30% chance to freeze. Pretty broken, all things considered, but because of him using Protect literally 3 times in a row, I'm able to fire off 2 bulk ups, then hit the third Protect with a Mach Punch, bounce off of it, then KO on the second try. Second is Celio, and with the attack boost I get the one-shot with Mach Punch, leading to Piloswine, who is also one-shot, as is his last Pokemon, Glaceon. Can't say I'm surprised. Guess that's what happens when a gym leader's first Pokemon is a literal child that can't do much in the face of a setup and sweep combo. With half of the badges in hand, I've got a bit of an underground portion to go through, housing the HM for Air Cutter. I kinda like this actually. Multiple moves having similar properties under different typings that can perform field actions. Though I don't think Cut actually exists with this being an HM, but I digress. I'm able to grab a Pidove to teach it, and then get to Charpos Island, which feels an awful lot like Moss Deep City. Alas, we've got a bit of Team Aqua to take care of, one grunt to be exact, but there's also a magma hideout on this island, so I've got to storm it, capping off with an admin fight against Courtney. She's got a Golbat and a McCargo, leading off with the former as I go with Torterra, using Bite and a held Persimberry to nail as many of these as possible, getting through a round of confusion and draining her Citrus Berry, while also getting her to use a Hyper Potion, as a critical Bite eventually finishes it off. Well, shoot, that's perfect. Now I can Earthquake the McCargo, hit it for quad weakness, and finish the fight. They evacuate after Cynthia and Sky, I don't know, give her a stern talking to. I don't know why we're not arresting these crazy bastards yet. But we're told to head to the Polar Forest with Mr. Stone transporting us back to Plate Pick City for our ease of access. But for some reason I'm allowed to move before the teleport happens, sticking me into a wall. And see, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we make sure to have backup saves and walk through walls cheats. You never know whether a ROM hack or not is completely stable. They are ROM hacks after all, not programmed from the ground up, so it makes sense that some of these programming bugs do come up. With that though, I'm given instructions by Birch, Stone, and Cynthia, as well as given a Master Ball and told to head to the Polar Forest, which is where that forest entrance blocked off by Team Magma was at the beginning of the game. However, before getting there, there's a Sunstone now obtainable with Air Cutter, allowing me to evolve Cottony into Whimsicott finally. But I've yet to find a Water Stone. I think one's coming up, but I'd really like to get Ludicolo here soon. Sky comes to challenge us before the forest to ensure we're ready, leading with full picks as I lead with Torterra, earthquaking it out of the game immediately as Leafeon's in second. Bite does a decent chunk of damage, but he reciprocates with Shadow Ball, firing back for a little bit and lowering my special defense. Not good for the ghost typing, but it is good for Giga Drain, which is neutral because of my ground subtyping. This is a bit of a war of attrition, but I'm kind of losing it due to his leftovers held item. Thankfully though, I looked ahead and knew about this, so I swap into Lombre only to get hit by Grass Whistle immediately. Well, I taught this thing Thief, and I need to get this item, but he's whittling me down pretty fast with Giga Drain. Fortunately, Lombre wakes up after getting 2 of those to the face, nearly getting KO'd by a Shadow Ball after hitting that Thief, but then I follow up with a critical Flame of Rage for the KO, leaving just Hippowdon. This thing is pretty dangerously strong, so I swap into Whimsicott since we have Giga Drain on it, taking a Crunch for about a third and using Giga Drain to recover back to full, bringing him down into the red as Crunch lands again. I hit 2 more in order to KO through a Hyper Potion, winning the battle. Alright, not too bad, though not getting that set of leftovers might have been pretty detrimental. There's a number of trainers in the next upcoming few gym badges that have leftovers, and I'll be looking to get 6 sets of them just to have generically good held items for my whole team, even though I still only have 5 Pokemon. I've skipped over a number of encounters at this point, since I've needed a space for HM users, and it's not like I've really missed much important. Cacnea, Paris, Petalil, Cherubi, and Deerling have all already been accessible. Well, Deerling's in the forest just ahead, but I don't think they're really needed at this point. With that though, I plow through the forest, landing at Maxie at the end. He's got a Golbat, not a shock. Well, this thing is a hard wall to my entire typing, so I just lead with Vileplume, landing a Sleep Powder after taking an Air Slash for just over half, then swap into Torterra to begin setting up Curse. Curse matched against a Pokemon that has 2 physical typings, along with Synthesis, is a pretty deadly combo. Even if I get normal poisoned here, it's not a big deal. Even toxic poisoning isn't the worst thing in the world, since I just get more turns than I'd normally get because of the recovery. But after setting up a few of these curses, Headbutt is able to one-shot going into Magmar. Now that's a special attacker, but the best move it has is Ember, doing a decent chunk of damage as Earthquake grabs the one-shot again here, leaving just Camerupt. Now this thing is slow as hell, so I fire off another Earthquake, but he outspeeds. I thought Torterra was at least faster, not good, but it's just for amnesia, increasing his useless special defense as I KO with Earthquake to win. Well, I can't say that I'm mad about this one, but how the heck did a Camerupt outspeed a Torterra? Anyway, with this tussle over the red orb, I'm once again sent to the Torn World to do some tile puzzles, finding Shaman at the end. It's a shiny, which I didn't realize was just a normal encounter here, so I sort of panicked and threw my Master Ball, since my brain was telling me that people would be mad if I didn't use a shiny Shaman, but with this knowledge that this is just how the encounter goes, I chose not to use it. Anyway, too many diatribes, not enough fights. Shaman's in the ball, I'm brought back to Sky's house to recover, given the HM for Surf, exiting into Malleus City, which is the home of the 4th gym leader, Lara. Blue-haired Lorelei. I guess this is just another original character, do not steal. Speaking of stealing, she uses the Steel type. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. And if I've proven anything with some of the last few fights, Torterra with Curse and Synthesis is pretty frickin' broken. Especially when you're hitting the opposing typing with super effective damage. I legitimately just set up 5 curses on her lead Pawniard, barely taking any net damage whatsoever as I KO with Earthquake, leading into her second Pokemon Matang. Leftovers brings me to full as an Earthquake KOs here too, glad it doesn't have Levitate, leading to Scizor. Now this thing was a bit irritating, it's got Sword Stance, though I've got Curse, so that doesn't matter much. And it also has Steel Wing to increase its defense while being on the offense, but who am I kidding, Earthquake is a one-shot. Last up is Steelix, setting up a Sandstorm as Earthquake, who would have guessed, one-shot the Steel Snake for the KO and the win.
See ya, chump. What the hell?
I don't know what it is with me and Spider-Man memes lately, but I do sure love me some pizza time. Huh, well this is an awfully late introduction to Scott in this game. But instead of being related to the battle frontier, he just gives me the Tri-Pass so that I can go to the Festa zone. This is just a mini-game place that helps with getting items and such like stones and heart scales, useful things, which I figured I'd at least try, but I don't need anything from there. But Chaotic, you say, don't you need a water stone? Well, yes, but thankfully that's inside of Malleus City's library, getting it from a sailor and allowing me to evolve Lombre into Ludicolo. Finally. And just in time too, since we're going to be doing a ton of surfing from here on out. In fact, so much of the time between the last gym and this next one is surfing and fighting trainers. But with only 4 levels worth of increased cap, I needed to curb it a little bit. May's actually ready to fight us again along the way, and she's added a 3rd member to her team, leading off with Xatu as I go with Ludicolo, flinching with Fake Out and going for Thief's super effective damage. This also lets me check what item she may have, which is none, so I KO next turn with another Thief after seeing the future sight. Alright, next Pokemon out is Lombre, and I see she's trying to cop my style. Not to mention, I know it's gonna go for Fake Out because of that, so I figured I'd mess with the AI by outspeeding her with my own Fake Out, failing as hers hits. I know, petty, but I didn't want to get flinched. I swapped into Torterra as I see a Water Sport, and this is a pretty effective 2-shot KO with Headbutt, with a Fury Swipes hitting for a grand total of 6 damage before being healed off by Leftovers. Last out is Infernape, and an Earthquake should be all she wrote, with Infernape landing a Flame Wheel beforehand. But is it truly enough? Well, it just so happens that it is. Perfect. Another rival battle is in the books, but we've got those Azurill standing in our way, so we can't progress this way just yet. Thankfully, May gives us the Gold Pass to head to Golden City through one of the harbors, connecting me to Cynthia over in the Honey Village. As you'd expect, she has the secret potion just for this purpose, ready for us to get those Azurill out of the way back on Route AB, taking out the trainers between there and our next destination, Puglia City. While this may not be interesting now, it is another bridge connecting Route X to Hotacita City, the actual home of the 6th gym. Iris is, for some reason, a Flying-type gym leader in this game. Not a fan of this one. She's a Dragon user normally. There's no problem reusing the layout of Fortree City's gym and just using Dragon types in here instead of Flying, but I digress. We're getting later in the hack, and that's usually when the quality starts dipping slightly, even in the best of hacks. Iris leads her team off with a Skarmory, so I go with Whimsicott in order to set up a Stun Spore and a Leech Seed. But I miss Stun Spore twice in a row as she uses Agility and Spikes, hitting an Aerial Ace on the 3rd turn as I finally land Stun Spore, paralyzing and then getting off Leech Seed next turn by outspeeding while I see another Agility. It shouldn't be enough to push Skarmory to be faster than my team though a 3rd Agility might do it over Ludicolo. But nope, I'm still faster, hitting Thief to steal her Leftovers, then swapping into Breloom to execute the true game plan. She remains paralyzed, meaning I can start setting up Bulk Up. With the power of Leech Seed, Leftovers, and Bulk Up increasing my defense, I'm able to survive through Skarmory's onslaught of Aerial Aces despite my quad weakness, forcing her into using a Hyper Potion and getting 5 Bulk Ups off between the 1st and 2nd Aerial Aces landing. Perfect, now I can get that last Bulk Up, then start firing off Mach Punches to take out her team. Skarmory falls to Mach Punch. Staraptor does as well, even after Intimidate lowers Breloom to +5. Pelipper is out third, using Protect but falling to Headbutt on its second turn, which leads to Unpheasant, another regional bird, casualty as a result of Mach Punch, leaving just Braviary. And because Braviary is based, it survives a +5 Mach Punch, just barely, going up to the air with Fly for a turn. I'm gonna miss anything I use here since I'm faster, but I consider swapping, then realize I have +6 defense and the only way that that's gonna screw me over is by a critical, which I risk. And the risk pays off, surviving a Fly with around a third of my HP remaining, KOing with a second Mach Punch to win. I figured it was wise to bet on my chances there. After all, the things that screw me over in these runs aren't errant critical hits. There are usually ranges that turn potential one-shot KOs into 2 shots. And since it's the same here, it kinda cements it even further into my brain, to the point where I might actually throw a fight because of it. Let's try not to do that, and move on to the next gym. Now that we've won though, we have to go retrieve the badge, and Pullia City finally becomes interesting because of this, seeing as Iris has run off to the contest hall with our badge. We retrieve it, as well as the HM for Fly, finally giving me easy travel around here. Seriously, why are we still locking fast travel behind 3/4 of the game's progression? It's not like it busts the game wide open, because it restricts it to areas that the player has been. But I digress. The level cap only increases by 2 levels for this one, and that's because we're finally returning to Teus City for that gym that we passed up back before Watson. But we need a scope. Not a Sylph scope, not a Devon scope, just a scope. Fortunately, it's accessible with Surf after running through Puel City and using Air Cutter and Surf to get there. Perfect, now we can go fight her. Professor Juniper is for some reason a gym leader here in Flora Sky, but she's also named Aragi. Her Japanese name was Araragi, and now I'm completely curious. The Gen 5 Pokemon have their English names. Why does she, and the Distortion world for that matter, still have their direct translations? Oh dear lord, this game was originally released in 2010. I thought it was much newer due to it being rather sophisticated for the time. But I'm talking too much. Juniper is a water-type user in this game. Thankfully, I was worried about ice types for nothing. Leading with a Quagsire as I go with Ludicolo, immediately blasting it with my newly learned Giga Drain for the one-shot as Empoleon comes in second. Well, that's unfortunate. I was hoping for Vaporeon to steal the leftovers with Thief here, but that's fine. I'm able to use Thief anyway, stealing Empoleon's Citrus Berry, as Drill Peck does just ever so slightly over half damage, causing Ludicolo to eat the Citrus Berry and recover nearly the rest of the HP lost from Drill Peck with a Giga Drain. This brings Empoleon close to half, but a second Drill Peck does a lot more damage than the first one. Guess it was a low roll versus a high roll, so I need to swap into Torterra, taking a Drill Peck for around a third as Earthquake outspeeds and KOs without a problem. Third is Vaporeon, and dang it, now with Ludicolo at low HP, I've got to do some setup to get these leftovers. I send in Vileplume to take an Ice Beam, then I try to fire off Sleep Powder. I figured, hey, I'm not using this in the league. I have access to Roserade, which is a superior grass poison type. If I miss Sleep Powder, it's not the end of the world. But I don't, allowing Vileplume to survive another day, then I swap into Ludicolo to take the leftovers. But Vaporeon wakes up, firing off Ice Beam. But Ludicolo refused. She survives on 1 HP, healing with some leftovers, and while I was tempted for a second to fire off Giga Drain for the massive boost in HP and possible KO, he's got Quick Attack, so I've got to throw that plan out of the window. So I swap for Whimsicott, and sure enough, there's Quick Attack. Glad I didn't throw that lucky survival out of the window, hitting a massive Giga Drain before an Ice Beam does a ton of damage to Whimsicott. Surviving on just 20 HP as I'm able to heal with leftovers, using another Giga Drain to grab the KO, leaving just 2 Pokemon remaining. Starmie's out next, and Whimsicott's a speed demon, outspeeding it and nearly one-shotting it with Giga Drain, healing to near full as another Ice Beam comes to nearly ruin me again, bringing Whimsicott back down into the red, so I just KO it next turn with a Giga Drain, leaving just her Wailord. Yeah, this should wrap it up. This one doesn't have any ice moves, and Giga Drain should do more than recover all of my HP with Wailord's massive pool. Giga Drain barely doesn't one-shot though, giving him the opportunity to fire off Water Spout. That is one pitiful animation. I didn't realize it changed the number of droplets that appear on your screen based on the amount of HP that the user has. I thought it was just an effect of the move. Very cool. The second Giga Drain after the Hyper Potion brings him back down into the red as another Hyper Potion comes down, and I've got more Giga Drains where that came from, so I fire off a third on Wailord, finally getting a high roll for the one-shot from full to win the match. And is it just me, or does her sprite here make her look like a Cyclops? Seriously, I see one eye in the middle of her face. It's almost like Leela from Futurama dyed her hair and moved over to be a Pokemon trainer. Well, I guess there is a little bit of a precedent of Adult Swim characters with Hank, so it would make sense. Alright, we've got one more badge to get, but a bit of story to take care of first. Firstly, Juniper needs her lab rebooted, taking the place of New Mauville, so I head over there, being stopped just short by Sky, who wants another battle with us. He's added a Shelgon to his team, thankfully not a Salamence yet, as I go with Whimsicott as my lead. A setup sweep is easily able to be done here, as I lead with Leech Seed, hitting Stun Spore after missing the first time, taking a Headbutt and a Dragon Claw with turn 3 being full paralysis. Alright, now 3 growths should be enough, though Flamethrower does nearly half damage to Whimsicott. Not a problem though, as Shelgon is notorious for spamming Protect no matter what game, allowing Whimsicott to get back to nearly full HP with the leftovers and Leech Seed recovery as I finish off my 3rd growth. I bounce off the Protect next turn before finally grabbing the KO with a Giga Drain on the following turn. 1 down, 3 to go as Ninetales comes out second, and even at +6, I cannot one-shot this thing, taking a Will-O-Wisp. Well, at least that only affects physical attack. 2 Giga Drains after a full restore is plenty enough to grab the KO with half of his team remaining. Third is Leafeon, and it can't really hit me hard, but due to my setup, I can hit him really hard with Giga Drain, KOing in one shot. Well, why couldn't that have happened with Ninetales? Alas, last out is Hippowdon, which gets absolutely pumpstered and dumpstered by a Leech Seed Stun Spore combo, followed by a swap into Ludicolo as Earthquake lands for a 3rd. I wanted to swap here because Ludicolo can thief off another set of leftovers, getting me yet another closer to finishing the full half dozen as a Surf KOs for the win. Alright, can't be mad at getting a 4th set of these by this point. So we take care of Juniper's lab full of electrodes that just go away if I approach them and run away. Then I'm immediately called away for a bunch of Team Aqua stuff. This has a few battles, but nothing too crazy. 2 admins and Archie himself shouldn't be able to put up a fight, as the first admin, Matt, starts with Golbat, so I go with Ludicolo, my best attacker for taking care of these things. Surf brings it into the red as Air Slash does just under half, letting him heal with a Citrus Berry and KOing with 1 more Surf. 2 more and out comes Tentacruel, nothing I can't handle seeing as it doesn't have Liquid Ooze, making Giga Drain the right option. Doing nearly half his barrier sharply raises its defense. Not that it matters, as I can just use Dive, paralyze him, then finish him next turn with a Giga Drain after taking Acid for some light damage. Or I would say I could finish him, but I've got a Citrus Berry to chew through, and since I've got some HP to recover, I figured why not, I'll let him full restore for my sake, hitting 5 more Giga Drains and a Surf to KO, seeing as he had a second to full restore, leaving Cloyster remaining. Of course, I only have 1 power point of Giga Drain, and I idiotically go for it on turn 1 of Cloyster being out, missing, not really missing, it just gets bounced off of Protect, and having to resort to Surf to KO, but it's actually not that big of a problem. Surf does plenty of damage through Cloyster's brittle special defenses, and it doesn't have Water Absorb, so I'm easily able to KO and let me move onto the Seafloor Cavern. Yeah, it's reusing a ton here, but that's fine. Admin Shelly is a pretty similar battle, having a Crawdon and Sharpedo instead of a Tentacruel and Cloyster, but still rocking that lead Golbat. Overall, this is pretty much the same fight as before, so I'm just going to spare you that description and head straight into the Aqua Leader fight against Archie. He's got a Crobat instead of a Golbat, so I still do the same lead of Ludicolo, then he goes first and uses Double Team. That's not good, but Surf does land for a bit over half damage, as Confuse Ray lands next turn. Alright, well, I just gotta break through this, and the hardest team member is down, and thankfully we do, not missing thanks to the Double Team and getting the KO. Gyarados is out second, and I'm just gonna keep clicking Giga Drain until something happens. I'm confused, he's got bite, something's gonna happen eventually, and it doesn't take long. The second turn while it's on the field, Ludicolo snaps out of confusion, nailing Giga Drain for nearly half as he sets up Rain Dance. Thief doesn't quite do enough damage for me to get Gyarados in range of another Giga Drain though, so I go for Dive, and this does too much, so a Hyper Potion comes down as I go for Giga Drain. Throughout all of this too, I'm getting healing off of Gyarados' dumb decision to go for Rain Dance thanks to the Rain Dish ability, and I think it's pretty helpful alongside my leftovers. With that though, I'm able to eventually work through another Hyper Potion with a collection of Dive, Surf, and Giga Drain to KO, and leave him on one Pokemon, that's Amistar. I save my last power point of Giga Drain for this guy, and of course he has Protect and uses it turn 1. There goes my easy way out, though it's a good thing that Dive and Surf do neutral damage, allowing for an easy KO with 2 Surfs as Blizzard lands for some decent damage, winning me the match and eliminating these teams off the map since there's no legendary encounter for me to get involved with. I can just head through Water Cave, grab the HM for Waterfall, and head towards Sorrent City for my 8th and final gym battle against Grizzly. Excuse me, Gima. We're still using Japanese names here. But before I do, I want to fill out my last party spot, grabbing Cacnea off of Route J now that it's nighttime, since for some reason it evolves into Maractus during the day with High Happiness and Cacturn at night. So, of course, I wanted to maintain that advantageous Dark subtyping. Before I'm allowed in the gym though, I've got to fight May one last time, and she's packing some heat on that team now. Xatu's still the lead, allowing me to fire off the Stun Spore Leech Seed combo, swapping for Torterra to tank fixed damage moves like Nightshade and weird moves like Future Sight, but this is rather easy. I'm eventually able to pick up the KO after bringing Torterra up to +6 attack and defense with Curse, using Synthesis to fully heal and fire off Headbutt next turn for the KO. Also, geez, we still have 5 more Pokemon, almost forgot about that. Next is Infernape here, going down to an Earthquake. Poliwrath is third and outspeeds and hits Hypnosis, extending the battle even longer than it needs to be, especially when the best attacking move it has is Water Gun. Couldn't you have afforded Surf by now? Either way, I just engage in the war of attrition, eventually getting that KO with a Headbutt that I hit in the middle of it, and out comes Granbull. This is a safe Pokemon to get around when it's pre-Fairy typing, so I KO with Earthquake as her own Lucario comes in, using Flame of Rage as my Torterra nails it with a single Headbutt to KO, leaving just Rampardos to fall to Earthquake for the win. Not bad at all, but getting back to the Dark typing, Gima, once again, I'm saying, I don't know why I couldn't just translate the names. I don't know what's up with the Japanese names, but it's fine. I'm just gonna punch his Pokemon in the face a few times and be about my way. He's got an Absol as his lead, and since he's a Dark-type user, it would only make sense for me to set up Stun Spore and a Leech Seed to facilitate an easier sweep opportunity with Breloom, swapping on a Paralysis turn and managing to get a Bulk Up off, but only once, though it was enough to make Mach Punch an easy KO as Zoroark's out next. It doesn't have Illusion, but it does have Trace, so Effect Spore could screw me over here, but it doesn't, KOing with Sky Uppercut as Umbreon's out third. Sky Uppercut is once again the better choice here due to the power needed to take out such a tank, but with Tyranitar, anything that's quad weak with the exception of maybe Wake Up Slap would KO this, winning me the fight after that Sky Uppercut lands and receiving the Fear Badge. And that's what I'm talking about, at least the badge has a cool name. Alright, all that's left are 2 rival fights that bookend Victory Road and the league itself, so let's cut the chit-chat and take these guys out. Wally finally gives me a challenge in Victory Road with a 5 Pokemon team, rather than just the Curlia from earlier in the run, leading off with Altaria while I go with Whimsicott once again to increase my chances of success with a sweep. I land Stun Spore and Leech Seed back-to-back as he goes for 2 Dragon Dances. A bit worrisome, but completely mitigatable with Torterra and Curse, increasing my defense and keeping my HP high with a mix of leftovers and Leech Seed recovery, getting off all 6 curses before using Synthesis, then moving to Headbutt, KOing the Altaria once I hit it, since Double Team can be a big ol' pain in the ass sometimes. Second out is Snorlax, attempting to use a curse of its own, but 1 against 6 isn't gonna do jack. One-shotting with Earthquake as Luxray comes in next. Now Intimidate, sure, lowers my attack a bit, but Earthquake is super effective and I'm still +5, so why should I care? Exactly. Out comes Lilligant, who hits Sleep Powder before I can move, which is unfortunate, charging Solar Beam as Torterra wakes up as early as it can physically wake up, to the point where I was just clicking synthesis in the hopes that I'd wake up early enough to not die, but I guess I should have kept mashing headbutt. Alas, I'm able to survive the onslaught of Solar Beam and Giga Drain, one-shotting with headbutt and leaving just Gardevoir to fall to an Earthquake. Not too bad. I like the addition of a Lilligant, but now it's time for the end of the victory road and the last fight against Sky for the run. He's got a rock-solid team at this point now, though I think I still cut the mustard above him pretty easily. He's got 6 Pokemon, leading off with Ninetales, so I go with Whimsicott, having 5 levels worth of advantage as I land Stun Spore turn 1, getting rid of her Lumberry as Heat Wave lands for massive damage. Well, I don't have to bring Whimsicott into the league with me. I have a backup plan, so I just go ahead and sack it here, going for Stun Spore and... Oh, alright. Ninetales stays paralyzed for the turn. Well, I guess I can fire off a Leech Seed then too, and make the ultimate sacrifice, and... never mind, she goes for Confuse Ray. I guess Whimsicott gets to fight another day. I was intentionally playing poorly there, yet the AI was just like, screw it, here you go. And I'm completely okay with that. I swap into Torterra on a paralysis turn, using Curse as Ninetales is paralyzed again, continuously getting zapped by Leech Seed, so I go for a second Curse, with Shadow Ball landing this time, and it's physical, so it does nothing. I go for a third Curse, and this is when I have the wake-up call that she has Will-O-Wisp. Thankfully it missed, but I must have forgotten to look at the moveset. I looked, and I just hit Earthquake next turn for the KO. Alright, good stat boosts, somehow no losses on the Fire-type Pokemon here. I should be fine from here. Milotic is out second, falling straight to an Earthquake after landing Surf for a third, as Salamence takes the field third. Intimidate is rather irritating, especially when I only got up to +3 rather than +6, but I can just swap back to using Curse here without any risk of status ailments. Eating Aerial Aces for breakfast, while I'm basically able to get enough Curses under my belt to KO with Headbutt in one shot. That took a bit of frightening synthesis plays to be fair though, but I figured why not. No gamble, no future. Lucario's out next, using Extreme Speed for extremely little damage as Earthquake one-shots, leaving Leafeon to fall to a single Headbutt, and Hippowdon to a single Earthquake, winning me the fight. And with that, here's our final team edged up to just at the level cap of 62, bordering on 63. I replaced Vileplume with Roserade, but for some reason this thing gets absolutely nothing in terms of good poison moves. Normally, it'd be able to learn the TM for Sludge Bomb, which you can get similarly to how you get it in Dewford Town in Vanilla Ruby Sapphire and Emerald, where you get the 5th badge before picking it up. But apparently the NPC didn't spawn. I don't know if it's because it's after the 5th badge, or if I have to wait until after the league, but I'm not gonna figure that out. I gave it Hidden Power as it has the Fire type, not a bad thing to have in terms of coverage, and it's special. So everything else is pretty standard on my team, just keeping up good attacks depending on the attack stat that they specialize in the most, and most of them held leftovers, which should be good enough. Anyway, leave your final predictions down below and guess if I can win or not on my first try, and whether or not it'll be deathless. Let's go for it. So first up on the list is Bertha, and quite frankly her fight is very, very easy. It's just lead Whimsicott against her Whiscash, do the whole Stun Spore and a Leech Seed combo while also working through a Lumberry, so it's a little bit more complicated, then setting up 3 growths for Giga Drain to sweep as her whole team is weak to the Grass type outside of Gliscor, who's neutral to the Flying type. Whiscash is also extremely easy to set up on, seeing as the only 2 attacking moves it has are Earthquake and Surf, with Sandstorm and Rest being the other 2. Once my stats are maxed out though, I'm able to destroy Whiscash, Swampert, Gliscor, Golem, and Crocodile, winning the fight and allowing me to move on to the second member, Alder, or Adeku, seeing as we're still using Japanese names. He's using Fire types here, starting off with Darmanitan, and he doesn't even require any setup whatsoever, as I can just lead with Ludicolo, spam 1 Surf apiece on Darmanitan, Blaziken, Volcarona, Typhlosion, and Infernape to win the match. Alright, with the pushovers gone, let's see what the rest of the league has to offer in terms of challenge. The next one is a completely original character, Elite 4 Ice, who ends up using Dragon types. Sure, bud, that makes sense. Yep, dragons. He's got an Altaria just like Wally did, so I set up a similar Stun Spore Leech Seed stall tool before debating on who to sweep with. I gave Ludicolo the TMs for Hail and Blizzard before this fight in the hopes that I'd be able to just one-shot sweep everything, seeing as the TM for Ice Beam isn't available until the postgame. But upon seeing a Sing hit immediately on switch in, I knew I needed a plan B. Thankfully, I've still got Breloom, and just like I did in Iris's Flying Gym, I'm able to just tank flying moves despite being quad weak to them, setting up a bulk up before being put to sleep, then taking a few more aerial aces as I set up more bulk ups and allow for Leech Seed to keep healing Breloom. I don't even care how many double teams he's using unless he swaps out or loses those boosts. He's going down, so I'm just content sitting here attempting to set up all 6 bulk ups as the Leech Seed does its job, and it does that job very effectively. By the time I do get to maxed out 6, I may not have enough HP, but I'm able to KO Alteri with Headbutt once I manage to land the damn thing. Double team is a bitch, leading to Flygon, who gets brick broken in half. Third out is Salamence, whom I'm shocked I outsped, and even more so that I one-shot with Headbutt, leading to Kingdra. Now, if only the physical special split existed, I would love to use a grass-type move here, but alas, a Headbutt will do it, as last out is Hydreigon, and if you're not familiar with this horrendous Hydra, you know it falls to a good punch in the face, and that's no different here. Brick Break KOs and gives me the win. Well, that was probably the most unlikely sweep so far, but at least Plan B worked after Ludicolo went to sleep. The fourth and final member of the league is Flash, using Ghost types. Now, while this may be a little intimidating, the only thing that actually stands up to my grass types is Gengar, and I'm completely fine dealing with one of those. So I just lead Whimsicott to set up the Stun Spore Leech Seed combo, and since I'm feeling extra spicy, I start going for growth to sweep with just one Mon, though Curse does put a bit of damper on that. Thankfully, it's only a flat 25% loss per turn, and I'm able to work around it perfectly fine thanks to Leech Seed and Leftovers recovery as well as Giga Drain. Spiritomb ends up going down, but not before doing a ton of damage to Whimsicott, but they all fall like a ton of bricks from there. Frostlass goes down to 1+6 Giga Drain, recovering over half of my HP, then the same happens to Dusknoir to bring Whimsicott back up to near full. Kinda crazy when you consider I'm under Curse, and I've been taking damage for quite a number of turns now. Fourth out is Cofagrigus, and I very much like the idea of this thing having Intimidate, by the way. Mummy feels absolutely useless in the main games. Give this thing Intimidate, why not? I one-shot it with Giga Drain, leaving just Gengar. Now, technically I didn't use 3 growths, I used 2, which is why I didn't one-shot here, but I do manage to survive, firing off a second Giga Drain against him to win the fight. Alright, well, that just leaves the champion herself, Cynthia, and I don't think I'm too worried. Her team is very similar to her choices in the official games she appears in, but it doesn't mean that I don't have to be careful. She leads with a Bouffalant instead of a Spiritomb, since it'd be weird if the last 2 members of the league both led with the same thing, going for Head Smash as I paralyze with Stun Spore, using the Leftovers and Leech Seed recovery next turn to ensure I heal up. Bouffalant is held down for the turn, so I just went for a Giga Drain to recover almost all of my missing HP, then go for growth, since why not? I'd rather have more HP, and this is the less risky thing to do in the long run. And sure enough, I was right, setting up 2 of them before Bouffalant sets up another Head Smash. Though I risk Whimsicott to a critical by using a 3rd growth, but I'm never ever punished when it comes to critical hits, getting to +6 as Cynthia wastes a full restore. See you later, bud, can't wait to beat on you some more in Pokemon Unite. Second out is Porygon Z, not doing anything of note before falling to Giga Drain, leading to her 3rd Pokemon in Togekiss, and this is what I was worried about right here. Not her Garchomp, her Togekiss. I can survive her Flamethrower on full HP, but nothing less. And sure enough, that is how it happened, being brought from full to 4 HP, KOing with a second Giga Drain as Roserade's out 4th. I figured now would be a funny time to use my own, so I swapped to have the mirror match, blasting it with Hidden Power Fire in order to do half damage. But here's where ranges rear their ugly head once again. The first Hidden Power looked like it did enough to make it a 2-shot. In fact, it felt like, oh boy, this is a 2-shot, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But of course, the second one misses the KO by a literal millimeter, making mine go down to a Sludge Bomb from her Roserade. Telling you, if it weren't for stupid-ass ranges, we would have had a deathless run. I can't stand these things anymore, man. Abolish ranges and make everything calculatable by a linear equation. It's not that hard. Anyway, she heals with a full restore the turn I go into Torterra and Earthquake, outspeeding next turn and KOing with a second as Gallade comes out second to last. This guy's a bit of a worry, seeing as he has Sword Stance and Dynamic Punch, so I make sure to go straight for Curse to increase my defense while also giving me a little bit more on the offensive. And Synthesis is great to support my usage of Curse here, not to mention Dynamic Punch is very frustrating, being 50% accurate, but 100 chance of confusion when it lands. Yeah, it's not fun, especially when it lands twice in a row. Though he landed it twice, it doesn't matter, since if Torterra just breaks through confusion to land an Earthquake, well then it can't use Dynamic Punch anymore, which leaves just me and Cynthia's Garchomp. She fires off Swords Dance, planning on a sweep, but Torterra just breaks through confusion yet again to deliver one last Earthquake to pick up the KO, the win, and the run. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first ever Monotype ROM hack Hardcore Nuzlocke on this channel, and maybe the platform? I haven't looked, but hey, that would be pretty cool if it was. Anyway, if you'd like to try suggesting to me a ROM hacker fan game, as well as the type that you'd like to see me try out in said game, definitely make sure to leave a comment below and upvote the ones that you like the most so that they get seen by me. Also, try to stay within the realm of possible though. I like my fair share of impossible runs and seeing just how far you can push the game, but I think those fit better in official mainline titles. Anyway, next week we should finally be getting back onto the Professor Oak's challenge train with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, so I hope you're looking forward to that, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to check out this other one on screen, you'll probably enjoy it too. And if you really enjoyed the content and want to help support the creation of it, you can head over to my Patreon page in the description. Speaking of which, shoutouts to my $5 and above patrons, Arantula, Aaron Ladeau, Aaron Rhinesmith, Aiden Brannon, Andy, Casper Kirkpatrick, Cryptic Gamer, Heim Flo, Jacob Johnson, Justin Dimmenstein, Kevin, Leon Matalg, Zeno, and Zachary Keever. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.